Hey everyone, and welcome to my Phantom Muspah guide. Whether you're doing this boss for the quest or after the quest, this guide will show you everything you need to start killing the Phantom Muspah. The only requirement for this boss is completion of the master quest, Secrets of the North, which in itself has a plethora of requirements. Check out the wiki page for a complete list of all the prerequisite quests. This boss has two variants, the quest version, called the Strange Creature, and the post-quest variant, called the Phantom Muspah. The quest variant has 550 health, and can hit a 32 with range and a 33 with mage. The post-quest variant is much more difficult, with 850 health, and can hit a 61 with range and a 72 with mage. Each version has freeze resistance. The quest version has 25%, and the post-quest version has 33%. What this means is that a freeze that lands for 10 seconds will only be effective for 7.5 seconds on the quest variant and 6.6 seconds on the post-quest version. This is important if you plan to bring a mage switch for freezing. If you opt for a range-only approach, then this can be disregarded. This boss fight is made up of 4 phases, with the melee and range phase switching about every 100 or so HP, a shielded phase at around 20% HP for the quest version or 127 HP for the Phantom Muspah, and a post-shielded phase that is essentially a range phase on steroids. The Muspah will start in either a melee phase or a range phase. Should you dislike the phase he starts in, simply exit and re-enter. Here's a brief overview of the phases, which we will go over in more detail next. Melee phase is pray from melee and kite. Range phase is pray from range, swap to mage for the mage attack. Shielded phase is pretty much a smite phase, and the last phase after the shielded phase is a modified range with faster mage attack and more spikes. If you're doing this boss for the quest, then you really don't need directions, you'll get there towards the end of the quest. Post-quest, there are 3 ways to get to the Phantom Muspah. You can buy an Icy Basalt off the GE and use it. It'll put you right outside the fence, it's shown in red here. You can also use the Wise Teleport from your house by redirecting a Troll Stronghold teleport. I'm not sure where this puts you, I've never used it. The last way is by using the DKS fairy ring and getting on Larry's boat, and then going through the tunnel near where you appear at. This is shown in pink. Once you're there, make your way inside and go down the stairs. Go through the doorway and make your way to the hole in the wall where you fought the strange creature in the Secrets of the North quest. If you can, it's a good idea to sip a stand pot before going here. That way, when you start the fight, you have some run energy. There are really only 2 popular ways to kill this thing. You can opt for a range setup with a mage switch, or a pure range setup. With a range setup with mage switch, you will range the boss in its range phase and freeze and mage the boss in its melee phase. With a pure range setup, you won't have freezes, so you'll have to kite the boss around in its melee phase. This works well for learning as it's less intensive, and it's my favorite setup. Also, if you don't have really good mage gear, then you're better off ranging at the start. Personally, I love using the Bowfun Crystal Armor. It works really well for a pure range setup. As far as the gear and inventory, it depends on your setup. On the left, we have a range mage setup. 6 switches should be fine here, even though I have 7. More switches means faster kills, but less resources. Find a balance that works for you. On the right, we have a pure range setup. This setup has more resources than the mage range setup. Depends solely on range though. There's a solid foundation across both setups. A smite switch, whether that be an ancient mace or crossbow of sapphire bolts, some sort of energy restore, more if you're pure range, a ranging potion, some prayer restore potions, runes to cast the summon spells from the Arceus spellbook, these can come in handy, an emergency banking teleport, a way to get there, and the Ring of Suffering. It offers good defense bonuses as well as the recoil effect. The melee phase is a bit tricky. You do not want the Muspah to touch you. If it does, it'll deal stacking damage. As long as you don't take 2 consecutive hits in a row, you won't take any damage from the melee attack. There is an advanced step back method, but that won't be covered here. It's way too sweaty. If you opt for a mage switch, make the switch now and freeze the Muspah. If you are doing the pure range method, you will have to kite the Muspah and hit it while doing so. An octagon kiting pattern works well here. The range phase is the most simple. The Muspah will turn green and hit you with projectiles. Periodically, it will make a laser beam charge up noise and shoot a magic ball at you. It's pretty hard to miss. At this point, pray mage, or you will be hit upwards as max hit, and your prayer will be drained over 18 seconds for a total of 18 prayer points. You can cleanse this drain by using the Ward of Arceus spell, or just sip Prayer Pot. In this phase, you want to range the Muspah. The shielded phase happens at about 20% HP for the quest and 127 HP for the Muspah. When this phase starts, take cover behind a spike or you'll get hit upwards of 80. After the Muspah does its AoE attack, it will have a prayer shield up and will heal for half the damage it does to you. You will have to drain its prayer using either an item or by smiting. This can be done via an ancient mace, or more practically Sapphire Bolt's E and a crossbow. You can also flick smite if you can catch its attack off tick, but this is pretty risky and it can get you killed if you're not used to it. When drained, it will return to the range phase, but will cast its magic attack faster and spawn spikes every 4 attacks. This is essentially the burn phase. You can easily get entrapped in spikes, so watch out. The Muspah will also use 2 special attacks during the fight, once each. If the boss spawns in the range phase at the start, it will use the lightning clouds first. If the boss spawns in the melee phase first, it will use the homing spikes first. For the lightning cloud special attack, the Muspah will teleport around the room and spawn small lightning clouds. They can hit around 15 if you touch them. Range the Muspah in this phase, as its range defense seems pretty low. You can do a lot of damage here. The homing spikes are more annoying than anything. The Muspah will summon 2 to 4 spikes that will follow you around for about 20 seconds. They will eventually solidify, so it's useful to position them to not screw up your kiting later on. This boss can get pretty easy once you get used to the fight. It drops supplies often, and I can routinely get about 2 to 3 kills per trip. It also drops a pet, the Muphin, or the Muffin, like I like to call it. Hit like and subscribe if this video was helpful, and as always, drop a comment below if I missed anything. Toodles!